What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight, June 5th, happy Monday to everyone. We're going to be doing a Best Ball Mania 4 draft here on Underdog, and draft starting in 20 seconds. I drew the third overall pick. Not my favorite pick. We'll see if we can get Jamar Chase to maybe fall to us, but not a huge fan of the third pick, but we'll have fun with it. And again, if you guys are new to Underdog, I do have a promo code in the description for this video. I believe new users get up to 100% match bonus. And again, Best Ball Mania 4, it's a $25 entry. Almost 678,000 total entries in this. This is going to be running to probably pretty much all the way up until Labor Day weekend. And currently it's about 15% filled, but we can look at that stuff later. As predicted, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase go in the top two there. When I get the third overall pick, I really don't love it. Tyreek, Cooper Kupp, I'm tending to take these wide receivers more than I am McCaffrey. So I'm gonna land with Cooper Kupp here. I don't have I was kind of drafting a lot of Tyreek Hill earlier in the year, so at this point I'm kind of just get more exposures to Cooper Kupp and that Rams offense, because people forget Cooper Kupp, man. Before he got hurt last year, he was he was the number one player in terms of running backs, receivers, and tight ends. So I'm totally fine with getting Mr. Kupp there. And then we wait. We'll see what we can correlate at the back end of round two. I do want to pull up a couple things. Hey, if you guys are new, definitely like the video, subscribe. It helps us grow. We're a little over 700 subscribers. Fingers crossed, trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by some point before the season here. So come on in. We're going to be doing live drafts all summer. We got mock drafts. And then right now I'm on the fantasyfellowship.com. I do have a new article, breakout second and third year players. Lots of good stuff on there. Check out the contract year player video. Best ball cheat sheet. This is something that I have been using a lot. Whenever I draft, I've been having this up with me. And this is a really cool cheat sheet that I made. Essentially, I went through week 15, 16, and 17, and I kind of ranked the games based on the total offensive ranking. So like Dallas and Buffalo, Dallas on the far right here, they have an offensive ranking of 3 for me. Buffalo has an offensive ranking of 4. So 3 plus 4 equals 7. You want a low score here that indicates potential high scoring game. So week 15, Dallas, Buffalo, fantastic game. Week 16, Buffalo, Chargers, week 16. So 2 Buffalo games, week 15 and 16. And then the final game here, Kansas City and the Chiefs. These are the top games. So obviously you care about week 17 stacks, but I'm kind of playing around with this theory in my drafts this year, especially on Underdog and DraftKings, where it's these play-in or playoff style formats where you have to get through week 15, 16 to get to week 17. I mean, I really want to pay attention to week 17, but if I can get a little stack built that correlates a week 15, 16 game, I'm totally cool with that. And for me, Buffalo, man, obviously they get New England week 17. Not a great game. You can maybe grab a 1 or 2 Patriots in that week 17 stack, but if you're drafting Buffalo guys, grab some Chargers, grab some Cowboys. They have some good games here, and that could help you kind of get to where you need to go. But we'll kind of pay attention to this. We took Cooper Kupp for the Rams here. They're going to get the New York Giants week 17. We'll see if we can correlate some Giants with this. And then the Rams also get the Saints. So Chris Olave definitely in play for us here. And then the Rams also get the Commanders. So we're interested in Commanders, Saints, and maybe some Giants. So one thing that I like to do as we're cruising here in the first round, especially on Underdog, I really love this feature here. I'm just going to type in Rams, and I'm just going to click some Rams here. Get some of these Rams guys on my radar here. And of course, their week 17 opponent is the New York Giants. So we're just going to slap all of these Giant guys here, and we'll put Isaiah Hodgins on there. And then again, I mentioned the Saints. The Saints are a good team to pair with the Rams because they play each other week 16. So I'm just going to slap a bunch of these guys on here. A lot of Saints. And then we did mention the Commanders. And again, this is a theory that I'm playing with. It's called stacks within stacks, where, again, you want to really focus on that week 17 game. Like, that's kind of everything. But if you can kind of correlate your opponent that's in week 17, correlate that with some of your week 15 and 16 opponents, I think that might be a new favorite idea of mine to continue experimenting with as the summer progresses. So stacks within stacks. All that's available on the fantasyfellowship.com. And right now I'm just organizing my rankings. And one thing that I love to do, especially like as I'm drafting here, the more teams I accumulate, I'm going to continue to search for these teams in the search bar, and I'm going to add some of the top players to my queues. Just lets me kind of stay, it just gives me a little chance to see the teams that I'm correlating with, and if I miss something, it's right there in my queue. So I like to continue to rifle through here. Are we almost up to pick? Not quite yet. I'm just organized. I wish there was a way to filter this by ADP. That would be very nice. But what are you going to do? But anyways, we're almost up to pick in the second round. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Again, don't be afraid to like the video. Definitely subscribe if you guys are new. We're putting out tons of content. And this year, our draft kit, which I'm calling the 2023 Playbook, it's completely free this year. So in the past, I had been charging, but I just want more people to access it. And I'm just trying something to see if more people are going to use it. So it's completely free. Check it out, the 2023 Playbook. There is a link in the description too, but you're going to get access to all my projections, rankings, cheat sheets, and more. Chris Olave, Saquon Barkley gone. Those would have been nice picks. So we're not really looking at correlating anything in the first round anymore, which is fine. I'm totally fine with that. The quarterbacks are falling. That's a trend that we're starting to see a lot, especially in the bigger stakes drafts. T. Higgins goes there at 21. Mahomes, Pollard, Hurts, Josh Allen, and then a bunch of running backs here. I'm going to land on Tony Pollard. And Tony Pollard's an interesting case, guys. I love the fact that Dallas, they really didn't bring in anyone to compete with Tony for touches. Obviously, they let Zeke go, but their depth chart behind Tony Pollard is really questionable. You got, I don't mind Malik Davis as a backup there. Of course, you have Deuce Vaughn, who they drafted, coach's son, yada yada, whatever. And then Ronald Jones, like they got some just some junk there at backup. So they don't really have a true number 2 running back. I think last year they ended up giving Zeke and Tony Pollard well over 400 total touches. And I mean, if you just extrapolate, I mean, Tony Pollard getting maybe 275 to 300 carries this year, that still leaves over 100 carries to someone at the RB2 spot. So I'm interested there, but Tony Pollard set up for a huge workload this year. And now that we got some Cowboys, we can correlate a little bit of Dallas in here. Cooks, Prescott, and Gallup. These have been some of my favorite stacks. And I do want to look at that article one more time with you guys after I make this pick. But we're up to pick here. Mahomes, Josh Allen on the board here. Henry, Brees, Mark Andrews, Calvin Ridley. I'm open to Calvin Ridley, but I think I'm going to take Josh Allen here, guys, and we're going to maybe queue up some Buffalo players. So we have the Bills, the Cowboys, and now the Rams. And that kind of gives us a wide opportunity to start stacking some good players. I'm just going to move up these guys here. Get Gallup in his spot. Again, I wish there was a way to filter these a little bit easier. But I'm feeling good with this. Cooper Kupp, Tony Pollard, Josh Allen. Quarterbacks are starting to fall into round 3, guys. So if you're patient, like Jamar Chase, Josh Jacobs, he could have taken maybe Patrick Mahomes here to correlate with Jamar Chase. That's fine. But there's been a couple drafts today where I've seen Josh Allen and Hurts fall to the back end, to the middle of the 3rd round. So if you're patient, they are starting to fall a little bit. And I think you want to continue taking some of these stud running backs over the quarterbacks. But we'll take Josh Allen here. We already have one stud running back. I don't want to be too heavy. And we built ourselves a pretty well-balanced start here. No elite tight end yet. Maybe we can look at that in the 4th round if we really care about it. But I do want to just pull up one more thing here. So I was talking about the Buffalo Bills. They're going to get Dallas, the Chargers, and New England. So these are now kind of teams that I want to start looking into. Dallas, the Chargers, and New England. Let me finish typing in my Bills here. Gabe Davis, James Cook, Damian Harris, come on down. I'm a huge fan of all of these guys. And again, I just wish there was a way to filter these a little bit better so I didn't have to manually align these guys up. But we got our Bills in there now. And now that we got Josh Allen, man, like we're going to aggressively try and get, Gabe Davis, some of the tight ends, Dawson Knox. I prefer Knox over Kincaid right now. I think Kincaid's kind of overhyped, and Knox is going to be the guy that's on the field more often than not. We got the Cowboys on there. Let's just kind of see if we can maybe queue up some Chargers in here too. I mean, I'm totally fine with maybe landing some of these guys. We'll move Keenan Allen up to the top of the queue. So if this plays out, I mean, obviously the Patriots play the Bills week 17. Not super excited about stacking Patriots, but they are really, really cheap in fantasy drafts right now. Move Quentin Johnston up. And then I think we got a good amount of correlation now, because I kind of want to just pick. And this is one thing that I've been trying to do too. I've been doing a handful of puppies. I've been doing a lot of drafters drafts. I kind of want to just stick to maybe 4 or 5 teams and say, hey, I'm going to draft 2-3 players from 4 or 5 teams, and we'll see what happens. I feel good about that strategy. And again, this is my second Best Ball Mania 4 of the year. The way I'm playing it right now is I want to kind of specialize in these cheaper contests. The $5 puppy is a great one. The $3 one on drafters is a great one for me, because I want to do volume in those contests, and I kind of want to continue to get a lot of different builds in those cheaper contests. Where in Best Ball Mania 4, I kind of want to do maybe 1 or 2 drafts a week, and ramp up as I get closer to training camp. And in August, I think August drafting in a contest like this is going to be a pretty good advantage. But again, as you're drafting earlier, you have some advantages, but when you draft in August, you're going to have some advantages too, as injuries and depth chart news and that kind of stuff happens. But I'll kind of recap what's going on here. Again, you're seeing the quarterbacks fall into the 3rd round. Hurts, Allen, and Mahomes all in the first 4 picks of the 3rd round. Henry, Brees, Etienne, too high for Etienne in my liking there. Mark Andrews is starting to dip to the back end of the 3rd, which I like. I've been buying him here, was not buying him in the top half of the 3rd. Debo, Calvin Ridley, there's Lamar, Amari Cooper, D-Hop. A little bit, I think you're buying Hopkins beyond his ceiling here. I would like Hopkins at the back end of the 4-5 turn. Just don't know where he's going yet. It could be bad. Watson, Najee, Judy, Mike Will, DJ Moore, Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs is like an auto pick for me in the 4th round at this point, especially in full PPR formats. Easily one of my favorite targets. But now that we're almost up to click, let me see. Let's go see. But so this guy's got Mahomes. This guy's got Hurts. We don't really have to worry about their picks at this point. We just know they're not going to be taking a quarterback. Would have liked to get Keenan Allen. That might have been nice. But again, I mentioned a handful of teams that we're looking at. Terry McLaurin fits our receiver need here, because the Rams do play the Commanders week 15, which could be a nice little mini correlation. You have Fields and Burrow starting to slide here. And again, I mentioned it before with the top QBs. The QBs are falling. Now, that also means quarterbacks everywhere else are falling. You're seeing Joe Burrow now sometimes go into the 5th round. You're seeing Justin Fields go in the 5th round. You're seeing guys like Justin Herbert and even Trevor Lawrence dip into the 6th. Sometimes Lawrence falls in the 7th. Like, these guys are all starting to slide 6 to 12 picks beyond their ADP that we were getting at a week or 2 ago. And I think that's just a lot of the market just being, hey, we got to start doing some different stuff here, and start to mix some different players and do some different stacks. But anyways, Miles Sanders at 48, aggressive. Carolina Panthers, interesting. Who do the Panthers play? I should know this by heart, but they get Jacksonville. Not sure why we're aggressively targeting that, but that's totally fine. Let's go take a peek in here and see who we're looking at. Justin Herbert, no thank you. We might have to kind of do an uncorrelated thing. And I don't know if you guys heard about the Colts situation, but they apparently have a player that has been gambling and could be in some big trouble. But we're up to pick here. I don't see anyone that correlates very well for our team. So this is kind of like just a whatever pick. I don't mind getting Drake London here. I feel pretty safe with him as my wide receiver 3. I think that's where we will land. At 45 ADP, we're getting him at 51, so we're getting about half a round discount on Drake London. Again, not super excited about Drake London, but for where we're getting him, I wish it would tell me the receiver number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Drake London at wide receiver 27. My projections, let's see. They got Drake London at wide receiver 25, so I'm pretty happy with that. And again, as our wide receiver 3, that's totally cool. There's really nothing else to stack with Atlanta. Maybe Desmond Ritter, maybe Kyle Pitts next. I'm not too concerned about that. But let's just, out of curiosity, again, we're kind of targeting a Rams front here. Matt Stafford might look really good as our QB2. Derek Carr wouldn't look terrible either. But again, it's this idea of stacking within the stack. Obviously, you need to win your Week 17 match, so it makes a ton of sense, to make that be your driving force when you're making a lot of your picks. But if I can't stack, if I'm stacking Rams players against the Giants, and again I have Cooper Kupp, so the Rams that's the king stack here. So I care about the Rams schedule, Washington and the Saints, to get me to Week 17. So I'm going to kind of try and correlate some of those guys here. The Saints have kind of already passed ship. Chris Olave would have been perfect here round 2 for us, but I think a lot of sharp people are starting to move Olave up. Olave is going to have himself a pretty good year with Derek Carr. I'm pretty excited about that. The Saints' schedule is ridiculously easy. And then I just want to mention, when I did all these, so you guys see Week 15, 16, and 17, basically what I did is I came up with a ranking system for all these games. And then what I figured out is Dallas has probably the #1 stackable schedule in the fantasy playoffs. They have a score of 28. So they play Buffalo, which is the #1 game of Week 15. They play Miami, which is the #2 game of Week 16. And then in Week 17 here, they're going to get the Detroit Lions, which is the second best game of that week. So all their games are in the top 2, Weeks 15, 16, and 17. Dallas, and again, I know Dak Prescott in the passing game, it's weird how people are kind of drafting that right now, but I love stacking Dallas. They have 3 potential shootouts, Weeks 15, 16, and 17. And when you start to build a Dallas stack, a Dallas Lions stack, sprinkle in some Buffalo, sprinkle in some Miami. Those are games that can help you get to the Week 17 holy grail of Detroit and Dallas on the fast track. So again, this is just an idea of, I'm calling it stacks within the stacks. It's a fun little system. And it even gets deeper than that if you really wanted to. I think if you're drafting, Buffalo for Week 15, you could also look at Buffalo's schedule and say, I'm gonna snag a couple Chargers or 2 because Buffalo Chargers Week 16. So you can begin to kind of build some builds with that in mind. And that's the theory of stacks within the stacks. Week 5, round 5 is complete. You see, after we take Drake London, who I'm completely fine with taking there. I'm curious. I want to see where Mr. London, where was he drafted, or where did he finish last year? We'll do half PPR Yahoo. So Drake London as a rookie, wide receiver 35, 72 receptions, 866 yards, and 4 touchdowns. I feel like he's going to beat all of these numbers. These are all pretty easy beatable numbers in his second year in the league. So I love London here. But Godwin, Fields, again, you're seeing Fields fall into the 5th. That's kind of fair market for Herbert right there. That's kind of where Lawrence's ADP is as well. Tight end, TJ Hawkinson, man, about a week or 2 ago, he was a mid-4th round pick, and I felt good about drafting him at the 4-5 turn, but now he's starting to fall even farther as you just look at all the orange in rounds 4 and 5. Tons of orange, but I do want to just soak in some of these green running back names, guys. Najee Harris is fine. Jahmyr Gibbs is one of my favorites, especially in a full PPR format. Sanders, that's a little bit high, but Jones, Kenneth Walker, J.K. Dobbins, Joe Mixon, like these guys are all locked in as running back 2s at least for the upcoming season. And we can get them super late. Like these guys are all being drafted around wide receivers 27 to 30. So comparatively, you can get a running back 2 at wide receiver 3 prices, which I kind of like. More receivers coming off the board here. Marquise Brown, Kadarius Toney, a little bit rich for Toney there, I think, but Mike Evans. And since we are almost up to pick, let's just take a peek here. What pick are we picking? We're picking at 70. This might be kind of like a celeb pick here. Again, Cam Akers, Jahan Dotson, all these guys are here. We do have Terry McLaurin, but I'm not quite sure we need to draft both guys. Although, in essence, I kind of just want to have both guys on my team for that weeks 15, 16, and 17 slate. Who do the Commanders play? Commanders get the Rams, the Jets, and the 49ers. Some tough defenses. I think the move has got to be Traylon Burks. Again, we could get Damian Pierce, Jordan Addison's there. Traylon Burks has been one of my favorite picks here in the 7th round. It's kind of a no-brainer to me right now. He's the bona fide number 1 receiver on that team. I think Tannehill is being somewhat disrespected this year. I know Will Levis is there, but I'm not super scared about him beating him out this summer. So we'll see. I think Tannehill to Traylon Burks is going to be a pretty fierce connection. And again, it's kind of a naked stack here, but Traylon Burks and those Tennessee Titans, man, they're going to get Houston, Seattle, Houston. Traylon, like, would it surprise you if Traylon Burks pops off for 20-plus points in all 3 of those games? Not me. And again, it's kind of a naked pick there, but I'm totally fine with it because we're going to correlate. We're getting correlation with this next pick for sure. I still haven't taken a giant to correlate. We did just miss on Jahan Dotson, which would have been nice. And I do have Cooper Kupp here. The clear pick is either going to be Darren Waller or Gabe Davis. And the thing I like about Darren Waller is, 1, we need a tight end, and 2, he's really the only other Giants receiving weapon that I would want, not named Saquon Barkley, I guess. But in this case, we got Josh Allen. It makes a lot of sense for us to take Gabe Davis in this build. Especially, I'm coming around to Gabe Davis, man. He's in a contract year. I can guarantee you he wants to stick around in Buffalo. And Stephon Diggs, man, getting a little older. I think Gabe Davis could be in line for a huge season, stepping into 100 targets, I think. I think he had 93 last year. I'm expecting a little bit more of efficiency from Gabe Davis. I thought he also had some kind of nagging injury last year. Let me take a peek here. Where was Gabe Davis? Wide receiver 27, not super elite on a game-to-game basis. Like, sure, he averaged 9.8, half PPR points per game, but we're not drafting Gabe Davis for his points per game. We're drafting Gabe Davis for his boom weeks, a 20, an 18, a 30. Not a ton of boom games last year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games with the wild card there. In double digits. And again, I think this is going to be something that Gabe Davis grows upon and maybe he gets a little bit more consistent. I'm just curious what that injury was last year. Gabriel Davis injury. What is this? He's yet to miss. No, he missed 2 games last year. One was the Bengals game. My bad. So he had a high ankle sprain last year, week 3, I think that was week 2, on a Saturday practice. He missed 1 game for it, and he kind of wasn't himself the rest of the year. So if he can stay healthy, Gabe Davis, man, is a fun player. Let me go back to the draft board here. 7th round is still fantastic for wide receivers. I think you want to be continuing to take these guys while they are available. But Jahan Dotson, George Pickens, Gabe Davis, Brandon Cooks, Quentin Johnson, Rashad Bateman. I think this is kind of where I start to get turned off by the receivers. You can kind of see here, too, in the queue, Zay Flowers, Elijah Moore. This is very clear to me. After the drop-off of, I think, Cooks and Quentin Johnson and Bateman, those are kind of the last receivers that I don't mind snagging in the 7th round. If they're gone, you got to be taking running backs here. It started with Madison. There's Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift, Isaiah Pacheco, Darren Waller. If you want a tight end at this range, Rashad White, James Conner, David Montgomery, Javonte Williams, tons of running backs here. And again, we only have Tony Pollard on the roster right now. I feel pretty good about that so far. And again, we're going to try and get some correlation with Tony Pollard at some point. Would love to snag another Lion or Cowboy or 2 to get some action in that game. And again, I mentioned the Cowboys have my most stackable schedule weeks 15, 16, and 17. But I think at this point, 8th round, the receivers have kind of run its course. 8, 9, 10. You're going to see a lot of green running backs taken off the board here. You're going to see a lot of purple, a lot of good quarterback. Like, this is kind of, after Deshaun Watson, that's where there's some questions about who's going to, finish top 10 at QB. But you're going to get a handful of quarterbacks here in the rounds 8, 9, and 10. And then you're also going to see a handful of tight ends and then kind of some junk receiver rounds here. But I get it. If you went running back early or elite tight end, you're going to maybe, can figure out how to finish your top 4 or 5 wide receivers. But for the most part, everything that I've seen so far, everyone's saying you want 5 receivers through 8 rounds. I don't know if that's completely true. I think you can make 4 work, especially if you have an elite tight end with those 4 tight ends. I think you kind of want to just make sure you have 5 elite pass catchers. And so some of these tight ends, they can count as elite, but I for sure want at least 5 pass catchers between my receivers and tight end. And then as we set this up, we have our 5 pass catchers. We got Cooper Kupp, man. We got Terry, Drake London, Treylon Burks, and Gabe Davis. I am feeling pretty good about that group of 5. Would have been nice to get David Montgomery to pair with Tony P, but that is totally fine. 1, 2, 3, 4 picks are up. Let's see if we can identify some players. I'll be honest, I haven't been drafting a Michael Thomas like at all. I wouldn't be opposed to grabbing him here. We're picking at 94th overall. I suppose it's fine, and he gets drafted. I have this weird thing where I'm almost not allowed to say the player's name when I'm like getting close to picking because it almost always just ends up being taken. So that's frustrating, but it is what it is. And 2 away here. A lot of good players on the board. You can see those running backs got hit pretty hard. Javonte Williams is an interesting one. I saw he's starting to fall. I know he's got an ADP of 91.4. He has risen the last week or two because he's been present at OTAs. And man, oh man, we just got sniped on my favorite running back to take in fantasy drafts right now, and that's James Cook. So that one hurts. That would have been a nice Buffalo piece there. And this guy gets him behind Barkley and Henry. All right, good pick, man. Good pick. Hate it, but it is definitely an interesting pick here. And as I mentioned, don't really want to take a receiver here. Sutton, maybe Jameson Williams. He's got an ADP of 98. I'm not opposed to it. There's Dak Prescott sitting there. We do have Tony Pollard. Don't have a tight end yet either. If I take Dak Prescott here, I'm done at QB, which is nice. I have Tony Pollard and Dak Prescott. I have exposure to the entire Dallas Cowboys offense. I don't love I don't love grabbing a quarterback and a running back on the same team, but I think this is a unique situation where grabbing Dak to be my quarterback next to Josh Allen, I'm completely done. I love that quarterback duo. It's pretty sick. We still have some outs with Dallas. We could get a Michael Gallup. We can get a Jake Ferguson. And basically just getting Dak, we know he's going to play the Lions week 17. I was fishing here. I can get one of the suspended guys. I don't know what Alvin Kamara's suspension is going to be. Obviously, I need some running backs. I'm going to be passing on some good running backs here. But getting a Jameson Williams added to this, and he does correlate with Dak and Tony Pollard, maybe Jameson Williams, the guy you need week 17. And again, I know he's got a 6-game suspension. I don't think he's going to try and appeal it. I don't know if he's going to even win it if you were to. But we'll grab Jameson Williams there. And again, that's just a way to get a little bit more exposure into that Dallas-Detroit game. And basically, I'm going 0 tight end here. I think we can scratch together 3 tight ends and call this thing pretty good. Sam Laporta down here, that's an interesting, especially when we get later in the season, Laporta could be more involved. Again, he's a Lion. I do like, I mentioned Dawson Knox, who is basically free. And where was he? Jake Ferguson is the other correlated tight end for us. Let me just kind of move these guys up. And hey, if you guys are just joining us, don't be afraid to like the video. Say hi in the comments. I'm always down to discuss with new people to the channel. I love the conversation. So if you guys don't want to leave a comment, let me know how the draft's going so far. Do you guys like my strategy? And again, after doing so many drafts, you start to kind of just do some different things than I've seen. And I'm totally cool. We got 2 elite QBs. Only got the 1 running back on the roster. So we're running a true 0 running back, 0 tight end squad. And I'm kind of excited about it. We'll see. I have something up my sleeve here. I'm fishing for it. I was very tempted to take Alvin Kamara there. But there's just so much unknown with Alvin. Like, I think his court case is the last day of July, which I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I love Kamara's game. Not super fond of him morally as a player. I guess I don't really like what he did. He's going to get suspended. Don't know how long. I think at this point, the ninth round, it's probably okay to say, I took Jameson Williams, so I know the guy is going to be gone for 6 games, but I'm buying a player here who's got 11 games on his schedule, and I'm hoping for 5 or 6 of these games to be like 20 pointers. If that happens, I'm feeling pretty good about it. And even if he just contributes 7 or 8 double-digit games, that's fine too. He's going to be a guy that works himself into my roster. And essentially, we have tanked out at wide receiver. I got 6 really good freaking wide receivers. I'm not drafting another wide receiver until maybe one of the last picks. Like, I have pretty good ones. We know we're not taking a quarterback, so we're purely looking at what I believe is the strength of the draft coming up, round 10, 11, 12, and beyond. Like, definitely at this point, you can make an argument that like there's a little bit of a tight end dead zone coming up here. I might not be forced to take a tight end at 10 and 11. I'm fine with it if we have to, but you want to be pounding running backs and tight ends, I think, in the double-digit rounds. And that's kind of what we set ourselves up to do. I'm just noticing now, Pat Frymouth going at 100. His ADP is typically in that 106 to 110 range. He's usually at the turn of the 9-10 rounds here. But to see him go over Evan Ingram, over Njoku, I'm all for that. I have him ranked ahead of those guys in my projections. But man, oh man, I mean, my Pat bags are packed at about a 110 ADP. So if he keeps getting drafted up there, I'm totally cool with it. I might have to sprinkle some more in, but love to see Pat Frymouth up there. Now that we're again, I kind of mentioned, if you remember when I was talking about it, I said, look at all the green coming up. There's going to be a lot of purple. There's going to be a lot of blue. And sure enough, after that big wide receiver run, half the picks have been running backs. This is when you want to be pounding your running backs. And maybe not zero. I don't think so. I think this year, zero RB isn't going to work. I think you need one stud running back in your first 3 rounds, because running backs are aplenty up there. Whether, I almost like the running backs round 2 than I do in round 1. Round 1, get your stud receiver, man. Round 2, you can get Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, JT. We got Tony Pollard. There's a ton of good running backs in round 2. Round 3, a little bit more question marks, but again, I really like the running backs at the beginning. And now we don't have to really force it. Quarterbacks are falling here. I mentioned Daniel Jones, Geno Smith. I'm not taking a third quarterback here. I do have a little something up my sleeve. I'm not sure if I'm going to love it. I'm going to grab Jamal Williams here. Again, the Saints are just one of those teams that I want exposure to. I did not have a New Orleans Saint player yet. And again, the reason I'm taking a Saints player here is because I have Cooper Kupp. He correlates with the Saints and the Commanders. I'd like to sprinkle in more of these teams along with some Giant players. So Commanders, Saints, Giants, those are some of the teams that we are definitely looking into. And this laid out really perfect for me. And this has been something that I've been trying to do, especially when I get that first, second, or third overall pick. I kind of like going empty at zero RB. And then when it comes time in the 10th and 11th round turn, it's really easy to get Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller. I know it's not the best thing to do to stack multiple running backs on a team. But again, I do know Alvin Kamara, he's going to miss some time. And I know they're excited about Kendre Miller. I know they're excited about Jamal Williams because they paid him. And for me, I think there's room for 2 running backs to eat every week, whether it's Alvin Kamara out of the backfield catching passes, or whether it's, Jamal Williams banging in at the, a short yarded touchdown, or if it's Kendre Miller popping off a big play every now and then. I think the Saints have the easiest schedule in recent memory that I've seen for a full season schedule. The Saints, you want to be in on the 2023 New Orleans Saints this year. So get excited about the Saints. And again, now we got Tony Pollard. We got 2 Saints running backs. I'm starting to feel good about that room having at least a floor every week. We're going to, especially the first 6 weeks, we built ourselves in. We're getting, again, I'm kind of expecting either a 4 or 6 game suspension for Alvin Kamara. I've locked in a running back 2 starter between Kendre Miller and Jamal Williams there for the first 4 to 6 weeks. Now it's kind of about piecing in, I kind of want to buy windows for running backs. That's kind of how it goes. So if I can get a running back that kind of comes in middle of the season, and has some life there, and then you kind of want to maybe look at some rookies who maybe get some run later in the year. I still don't have a tight end. I'm still not worried about that tight end spot being filled. Let's kind of pivot. I need to kind of start filling out some running backs. Now, Jalen Warren's one of those guys that qualifies to me as a guy who has weekly, flex upside because he could, break a big play or two, catch a couple passes, and make a touchdown or something happen. Last year, he did make some nice plays down the stretch. Let me actually show you guys. Half PPR, Jalen Warren. And again, as the season went on, he began to play a little bit more. I think he is very underrated. I think Najee Harris is slightly overrated. But in a half PPR format, you saw 2 double-digit games out of Jalen Warren. Double-digit carries, 11 and 12 in those games. He did rush for a touchdown week 15, had 3 for 22 as a receiver week 17. Some really nice rushing numbers here, 12 for 76 in that game. And again, you see a couple 9s, 9, 9, 8s. Technically, these are I see when I buy in Jalen Warren, I see 5 games last year that could have been a running back 2 for me. Now, these aren't great numbers. 8 to 11 points are by no means great, but I expect Jalen Warren to solid rookie year. I expect him to grow, get more touches this year. And again, if anything happens to Najee Harris, Jalen Warren might be a league winner. Really fun player. And as we look around here, we're probably going to get sniped on a lot of guys in our queue. You can see green is still a primary color at this point. There's some tight ends starting to come off the board. That's a little early for Chido Okonkwo, who's one of my favorite tight ends to draft. But now you're starting to see some orange trickle back in here. Looks like we're on a little wide receiver run. Not super excited about Darnell Mooney. I think there's going to be a lot of confusing wide receiver scores in that Bears offense. Mingo is a fun upside pick. I think Mingo looks good when you have, a solid 5 receivers ahead of him. I don't want to be drafting Mingo on a heavy RB team because Mingo might take, 5-6 games to get caught up. And if Mingo were to hit, I don't know if he's going to hit week 1 right away. So you need to kind of build in a safety net with Mingo. Romeo Doubs. People are sleeping on Romeo Doubs. I think he has a legit outside chance to lead the Packers in receptions this year. I know everyone's talking Christian Watson in the 4th round, but Doubs has been electric and super positive reviews out of OTAs in Green Bay so far. Good pick, Nico Collins. Again, that's what happens when you talk about the player you want to take. Jalen Warren goes 136. And then Alec Pierce. I'm so interested to see who this anonymous Colts player is that has apparently gotten busted for betting on games. They said it was a non-star player, but he's like known by fantasy people. And they did sign Brashad Perriman today, which I found pretty interesting. Brashad Perriman's a big outside receiver. Alec Pierce is a big outside receiver. Michael Pittman he's a good receiver, not a star player, and he does play a lot on the inside outside kind of thing. He's an interesting guy. I don't think it was him though. Really not a fan of these running backs here, as we've kind of been sniped on a lot of them. We're going to be riding rims here with Tony P, Jamal Williams, and Kendre Miller. I just want to open it back up here. Dalton Schultz, man, not sexy. We do have Tennessee Traylon Burks here. I need a tight end. I see Tyler Higbee here. But Dalton Schultz gives us a little bit of a juice in that ugly Week 17 game. I need a tight end, man. I'll take Dalton Schultz 10 picks after ADP. It's fine. Not in love with that pick, but it is what it is. We're going to need to find some RBs. Wow, we missed like all the running backs. I think our next turn at where are we? The 166, 171, that's going to be ripe for running back. So I might look at one more receiver here, maybe one more tight end here, and not a Komet guy for sure. Van Jefferson correlates with our Cooper Kupp. I still don't have a Giants receiver. I definitely want to get at least one Giant receiver. That's probably going to be Isaiah Hodgins. Yeah, I do not see the strength at receiver. That's for sure. And tight end, man. I mean, Higbee might be fine. And of course, Dulcich and Higbee go back to back. Don't want to reach on Jawan Johnson. Cole Kmet's falling. Not super into it. Ugly, ugly turn, man. We could have maybe waited on QB2 in hindsight here. Uh, I'll take a flyer on the Bears, Rashawn Johnson. This is a guy that I just kind of want to just put in the back of my portfolio here. I get him a few picks after ADP. I do like I like Khalil Herbert. I think he's a good running back, and so is Deonta Foreman. It's a kind of an ugly three-way committee. I think the way I've drafted is I've given myself at least 4 to 6 games of Tony Pollard, and then we're gonna have a Saints running back score for us at RB2. And then Rashawn Johnson, man, if he comes out and he's looking good, he might be a guy by mid-season, late year. He could be a guy that emerges. And who knows? Khalil Herbert's had trouble staying healthy. Deonta Foreman is kind of a banger. He might kind of retain a role there. Rashawn Johnson, I do need more of him. At that point, I probably would have went with Tyler Higbee and just locked down the 2 tight ends, Schultz and Higbee, both gross white tight ends, but it is what it is. And we're moving and grooving here. And hey, if you're just joining us now, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you guys are new. It means so much to me that I got people out there that want to watch a live stream with me just drafting a best ball team in June 5th to be exact. Pretty crazy. It's definitely a best ball summer. It is on. And we're gonna be doing live streams, man. If not every other night, every third night, something like that. We're gonna be pumping out 2-3 videos a week. And on top of that, I do like to put out the YouTube shorts and all that stuff. So plenty of content. And man, oh man, I can't mention it enough. The 2023 playbook on the Fantasy Fellowship is completely free. Projections, rankings, cheat sheets, everything you need to get prepared for your fantasy drafts is there on the 2023 playbook page. There's your rankings, there's your projections. I even put them by team this year, which you can kind of just click into the team and see how they're going to go. I got advanced projections here. I absolutely love target share, opportunity share, and yard share. 3 really big numbers that can help correlate to fantasy success. You can see, the more opportunity a player gets, the better he's going to usually finish in fantasy football. There are some exceptions. Guys like Deontay Johnson last year didn't catch touchdowns, so he kind of had a down year. But he's a guy you want to be buying in 2023. I'm going to update the cheat sheets at some point this week. And then I'm challenging myself to at least 1 article a week, I think, this year. So far I've been pumping out at least 1 a week the last month and just having fun with it. And then tons of 2023 research, guys. Just check it out. I put so much work into it, and it's free. But anyways, we're moving and grooving here. Just notice rounds 13, 14, the running backs have technically fallen off. I should have been a little bit more aware of that. Don't know if we needed Dak Prescott on second thought. It might have been a little bit better to not take him. We have Dak unstacked right now. We have him with Tony Pollard technically, which who knows if Tony Pollard catches a touchdown and Dak, runs in one or something. We got some weird stackability going on in that Detroit Lions game. But we'll see. We're on deck right now. Sam Laporta went. I was kind of considering him. Again, the New Orleans Saints players here. I don't love the running backs here, guys. We're picking at what? 166. Tajay Spears is down there. Okay, I'm going to grab Jawan Johnson just to get another Saint. And let's see. Rashid Shaheed sticks out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We grab Rashid Shaheed. We could be, and then he goes again. As soon as I say it, I ain't getting him. Top player Matthew Stafford. That would have looked really nice right now. I know we don't have Matthew Stafford. We don't need Matthew Stafford. I mean, we have Josh Allen, Dak Prescott. I think I'm going to let him go. I'm just going to grab Deonta Foreman here. That gives us another backfield stack here. We got Rashawn and Deonta Foreman. I'm okay with it. I don't love it. By no means do I love it. But, hey, we got a 66% chance of a running back 2 maybe every week with one of these guys here. So it's fine. We're really light on running back, so I can't really complain. And hopefully one of those receivers falls to us on the comeback. We got 3 picks left here. I'm kind of happy with my build so far. We got the 2 QBs, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, the 5 running backs, Tony Pollard, Jamal Williams, Kendre Miller, Roshan Johnson, and Deonta Foreman. Receivers are Delicious, Cooper Kupp, Terry McLaurin, Drake London, Treylon Burks, Gabe Davis, Jamison Williams, and then down here, Dalton Schultz, Jawan Johnson. We got a handful of guys left here that we could potentially stack. I want to just click on Khalil Shakir, get him in there, our Buffalo stack. Let's just see some of the Rams. Matthew Stafford's fallen like crazy. I could maybe add Kieran Williams, who's kind of being undrafted right now. I don't know if I trust Zach Evans. Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, whatever. I believe we're all out on Cowboys. I can maybe take a stab at Deuce Vaughn. I am Malik. I like Malik Davis too. I'm nervous that they're not. I'm nervous that they're going to grab another running back. It could even be Ezekiel Elliott. Like it's really kind of a messy situation there, and I don't know if I trust it. So, but I do believe that the Cowboys need to use a second running back other than Tony Pollard. I don't love, again, I'm just trying things out. I did not plan on coming in and just grabbing backfield tandems or, parts of trios, but that's just kind of the way it's working out. And if the staff likes Deuce Vaughn, they like Deuce Vaughn, but it's a little bit early. I think when I'm drafting in June, again, I mentioned I want to ramp up my BBM 4s and some of my more higher stakes drafts in August. Since it's so early, I want to draft certainty. I want to draft a guy that I feel has kind of a position locked in and he's going to be able to compete. Like a guy like Deonta Foreman, I know he's going to get opportunity. Rashawn Johnson too. Those guys are going to compete. I like it. With the Cowboys, no idea who the number 2 running back is. And what if they signed Kareem Hunt? What if they brought back Ezekiel Elliott? It's just, there's a lot of questions there. And some of the other backup running back spots too, whether it's the Cincinnati Bengals, who personally I would love to see Kareem Hunt as a Cincinnati Bengal. I think that's a lot of fun. Because Travion Williams, Chris Evans, kid from Illinois, Chase Brown. I don't know, guys. But we're moving and grooving here. 16th round. I got 2 picks coming up fast. I can get my last receiver here. I think Tajay Spears would be a excellent pick for us as well. And as soon as I say it, we're gonna get hit here. He is the top RB available. Kenneth Gainwell goes. Again, we're working on a 2-5-6-2 build. Definitely want one more receiver. I think 6 is too light. If I can't get Hodgins here, I'm totally cool with Khalil Shakir, just a part of our Buffalo stack. I think that would be just fine. Hodgins does correlate with our Rams game. I don't have anybody else in that Rams game. I failed to get Cooper Kupp some help in week 17. Maybe it makes more sense to get a Khalil Shakir. Again, Buffalo gets New England in that game. It's a way better offense. There's going to be way more opportunities, and there goes Hodgins. So I think that kind of, I think I kind of just dodged a bullet here. If we can get a pick here, and of course, I jinx it. Tajay Spears. I'm just going to grab Khalil Shakir. I think Shakir's a sleeper. To me, he's the clear 3rd wide receiver on that team, and he's going to get opportunities in the slot. Heaven forbid anything happens to Gibbs or to Diggs or Gabe Davis. Khalil Shakir is going to be the number 2 receiver on that team. I think he can play inside. I think he can play outside. He's a pretty valuable pick, I think, at this point, especially when you're drafting Josh Allen teams. You got to take Khalil Shakir, man. He's basically free at this point in the draft. And here we go. Dalton Schultz and Jawan Johnson to hold it down at that spot. I'm gonna grab Kareem Hunt here. I don't feel great about it, but I don't want to miss out on him. And I think of all the free agent running backs left, like if Zeke signs with the Cowboys, are we going to be running away from Tony Pollard? Maybe he slips a little bit. I will say, if Kareem Hunt signs with a team like the Cowboys, that's going to probably hurt Tony Pollard's stock. And I guess just what I'm trying to say is Kareem Hunt has I think he's got the most juice left in the tank between Zeke, Hunt, and Fournette. If and when Kareem Hunt signs somewhere, he's probably going to hurt somebody's value. And even if he is the RB2 there, we know he's a really good pass catcher. He's a solid pass blocker, and he's a really damn good running back. I think Kareem Hunt's got a lot of value left. So I do not mind him. What, round 17, Kareem Hunt is free. Just what happens when, say, Kareem Hunt signs in a week or two, what is it almost doesn't even matter what team he goes to, because wherever he signs, he's going to have more value than he does now. I'm really curious to see what he jumps up to in terms of ADP. So I love grabbing a guy like Kareem Hunt at this point in the draft, especially on RB light teams. So again, we're just experimenting some stuff. If you guys are just getting to the chat room, like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you for coming in. We're just finishing this one up. I think at this point, we got a 2 quarterback build with Josh Allen and Dak Prescott. Our running backs are pretty light. We do have 6. I don't know if I want to push it. We have 8 receivers and 2 tight ends. I kind of want to see what the tight end looks like. The only reason why I kind of like grabbing a 3rd tight end, especially in Underdog, is because you can technically start 2. Like if you have 2 tight ends hit, you can start one as a flex. Whereas quarterback, you can only start 1. To me, it only makes sense to take 2 quarterbacks. I don't want to be stuck burning a roster spot with 3 quarterbacks when I can, use that ammo elsewhere. But having that 3rd tight end, one, it gives you a little bit of wiggle room in case an injury happens to one of your. Say you have 2 tight ends and one of them gets hurt, whether it's season ending or he's gone for a couple of weeks. It gives you just another backup and another opportunity to get some more points. I do like that. And then again, you can. If you draft the right ones, you could end up flexing a tight end a handful of times. It's not always drawn up that way, but tight end stuff happens. And as we enter the 18th and final round, this is where it gets kind of fun. There's players in the 18th round that by August they're going to be drafted in the 15th round, 16th round, maybe even the 14th round. These guys are going to move up as soon as we start getting OTAs out of the way. And essentially we have like 2 weeks left of OTAs, and then the players all go on vacation and get arrested for a few weeks before they report back in July. But a lot can happen between June and July. A player could get signed, a player could get injured, training camps start, and then we start seeing where, who's getting the first team reps or the second team reps. There's a lot that can happen. So I think to be right on your 18th round pick right now is I kind of just want to get a guy that's, kind of guaranteed to be on the team. I want him to have a clear role. And if there's any opportunity for him to move up the boards, it's going to be, come July. So you kind of just want to lock in this player, see what happens, and we'll start to kind of shout some of these players out now. Darius Slayton is one of my favorite receivers to draft in the 18th round. I think he is the best boundary receiver. I know Isaiah Hodgins a pretty good X receiver. I think he's kind of like a slot hybrid as well. I know Slayton's going to be on the field a lot. I like him. Giants like him. Giants are going to be much improved this year. Pretty good pick. Nathaniel Dell is a guy that it's kind of cloudy in the Texans system, but he's a somewhat decent draft pick capital by the Texans. CJ Stroud loves him. And this is a guy that's going to get a lot of opportunity as the season continues. So if you need receiver, those are some of the guys I do like. We need technically a tight end. Isaiah Likely, at this point, we know he's the tight end too. He kind of got lost, I think, in the pecking order when they signed all those receivers. Odell Beckham and Zay Flowers were added, healthy Rashad Bateman. Kind of hurt him a little bit. We are going to go get a tight end here. And this guy's, to me, he's got a ton of upside to be the potential Dalton Schultz heir, and it's Jake Ferguson. I don't think Luke Schoonmaker is any good. I think he's a blocking tight end. I think he's kind of a guy that they just wanted to make sure could, replace some of what Dalton Schultz provided, who was a pretty good all-around blocker. I think Ferguson's more athletic than Dalton Schultz. And to get Ferguson here as my tight end 3, I'm fine with it. It also correlates with our Dak stack, so I'm overall pretty happy with that. And a couple other guys I just want to shout out in the 18th round here. Mac Jones is free. If you really wanted to, I could have went empty and just got Josh Allen and Mac Jones and peppered in some guys here for the Patriots. Hunter Henry is the starting tight end for the Patriots. I don't get why Mike Gesicki is going ahead of him, several rounds ahead of him either. So I love Hunter Henry, Noah Fant, Cade Otton, Logan Thomas. Luke, you can get starting tight ends, guys, in the 18th round. So I love that depth there. Richie James could be a slot punt returner for the Chiefs. Paris Campbell with Brian Dable. That's a lot of excitement there. Michael Wilson, he's going to be the best. He's literally the biggest receiver on the Cardinals. He's going to get a lot of playing time on the outside. Greg Dortch, probably the best receiver on the Cardinals outside of Marquise Brown. Devontae Parker is free. There's just some junk here. Kyle Phillips could be the starting slot receiver for the Titans. And then at running back, just take a flyer and a handcuff, whether it is one of the Cowboys guys, Deuce Vaughn and Malik Davis. Again, slightly worried that they're going to sign another running back to compete. Cordero Patterson is free. He's worth a spot. He's going to be used in some high leverage situations. And then, Travion Williams has the inside track to be the RB2 in Cincinnati. Ty Chandler was picked, but I do like him. Sean Tucker in Tampa Bay, Chris Rodriguez in Washington. Just some names for you guys there. But hey, that's going to do it for this video. I had a lot of fun drafting this BBM4 team. I'm going to try and do at least one big draft stream per week. So maybe next week we'll do the drafters stream. But anyways, thank you guys. Check out the links in the description. The 2023 playbook is completely free this year. Again, if you haven't signed up to Underdog, use the link in the description, get your deposit match. Check out Underdog, drafters, all that good stuff. And hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with me on this Monday evening. We'll see you in a future stream. Peace.